everybody, and welcome to a little new video. Today is Valentine's Day, and it is kind of, it's the first day of reading week, and now me and my family were procrastinated a little bit too hard, so flights were way too crazy, so normally I would go home, but I'm going to be in Halifax over the reading week, so I'm gonna try to do some fun stuff that I haven't gotten around to doing yet, and also hopefully catch up on work. I have to grade. I have a bunch of feedback to give because the students in my TA class have an essay due like the day or the day after they come back from break. It was supposed to be due before the break, but we had a couple of snow days, so the professor like reworked the schedule because we kind of kept missing important classes, so the due date got pushed. So yeah, I'll have to give back some feedback in the next couple of days, and also then after the break I'll have a bunch of essays to grade. They're quite short though, they're like 750 words because this is like a first year kind of writing requirement course. So basically Dalhousie has a few different courses that fulfill like a writing requirement. So like majority of the students in these classes are not English majors. Most of them are in kind of like STEM or business-esque classes. I've had like a few students that are in like the management something program kind of thing. But anyway, I digress. Today, my plan is, normally I don't really do anything on Valentine's Day because I'm single. But except unless like there's like me and my friends arrange some kind of Galentine's Day kind of thing. Like at Oxford, usually there was a bop or me and my friends would do something. But today I've decided that I want to go to a couple of antique stores because I know that there's some good ones sort of near me and I haven't been to any of them yet. So I want to go and take a look out. It's really nice out today. So I think I'm going to go down towards downtown because there's a place called the Vintage Mansion, which is supposed to be, I think, like multiple floors and have kind of everything, like clothes, stuff, you know, things that you find in a store such as that. So a few people told me that that was really good. Thanks, Johanna. And so I want to go check it out and see what I can find. Yeah. And just enjoy the fact that it's like 1 degree out today. So I'm just decided that I'm not doing any of my work today. That can wait until tomorrow. So I'm also going to finally start this book today. I'm determined. This is the one that Megan got me for Christmas. It's got many things going on. It's obviously, if you couldn't tell, it's a like Scottish historical romance kind of thing. And I think basically they do like Scottish Olympics. He's competing in the Highland Games, and for some reason this woman is training him. I don't know what her qualifications are, but you know, she's got him, and also she has like a best friend who's a ghost. So that should be fun. It'll be like spooky Bridgerton, but not Bridgerton. It'll be like spooky, less violent Outlander probably. Just thinking the other day, I'm in a real like historical romance mood. It is probably because I watched the first drop of Bridgerton, which, by the way, what a missed opportunity to release the second batch of episodes on Valentine's Day. That seems dumb that they didn't do that. Also, why are they waiting so long between drops? It's too long. It's way too long. I think if anything, they should do like 1 episode a week. Or yeah, release them this week, because by the 26th, that's way too long after the first drop. Like, you're having the show lose momentum before it goes, you know? But my other favorite historical romances, just to, you know, give you some recommendations, I love The Windflower by Laura London, I believe is the author's name. I will put it on the screen if I was incorrect. This is one that was actually like my mom's all-time favorite, and then she gave it to me to read, and I absolutely love it. Definitely the best historical fiction, the best historical romance that I've ever read, if not like just the best romance novel I've read, full stop. And I think what makes it so good is that like the side characters are all amazing and are really important to the story and are like have their own things going on, because you don't often get that in romance, and especially not historical romance. Like there are side characters, but they're just kind of, they're there for the character to occasionally talk to, maybe give some important information or like be a villain or something. But I feel like the sort of secondary characters just really shine in that one, and like Cat and Raven And even Rand will have you tearing up occasionally, and it's just so, so good. And it does like all of the things in a historical romance novel, but it just does them, like, it's the best possible version of the thing, you know? And then one that was written a little bit more recently is 9 Rules to Break When Romancing a Rake by Sarah MacLean. I absolutely love that one. The whole series is good, but the first one, which is that one, I think, is the best in the series to me. It's just, it's really funny, and it's very good. If you do like the Bridgerton show, I think that you would like that book. I feel like it has the same kind of vibe, maybe slightly more historical accuracy, but I do just love that one. It's so fun and funny, and yeah. And then another kind of oldie that I read that my friend Megan also got me, I can't remember if she got me this one for my birthday or for Christmas, but it's A Rose in Winter by Kathleen E. Woodowis, and that one's long, and she writes long novels, but they're so good. They're very, like, the description is just so beautiful, and it is one where, like, you understand what the twist is gonna be right from the beginning, but I don't think it's necessarily supposed to be a secret to the reader. And yeah, it does occasionally get like, okay, I wanna shake this woman, like, how has she not figured this out? But for the most part, it's not one where you're like frustrated that she hasn't figured it out. Like, you're just kind of along for the ride, you're enjoying it. And I feel like it draws it out, but it doesn't like smack you over the head with it to the point where you're like, okay, this is getting stupid. I just love her descriptions of scenes. It's like really, really it's a really, really like pretty read. When people get like really doomsday about book talk recommendations, particularly about romance, I'm like, I feel like you guys just don't kind of understand your own taste. Like, I can see a book talk rec and be like, okay, I'm not gonna enjoy that, or I'm gonna enjoy it in the way that I would just like enjoy kind of a stupid book that I know is gonna be bad, but is maybe gonna be like moderately entertaining. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that. They go into them being like, yeah, this is gonna be incredible because this random person told me it was incredible, but like, can you not tell from the description? Are you guys not reading the descriptions? I don't know. Where I was going with this was that I feel like historical romance hasn't really had a huge like moment on Book Talk, which I do find interesting because there are ones that are more, even like if they're historical, they are more kind of like modern. And especially with shows like Bridgerton being so big, I think it's interesting that historical romance as a genre hasn't like gotten as huge on Book Talk. I know there will be like historical romance corners, but it hasn't gone as like mainstream crazy as like fantasy romance or like different kinds of contemporary romance, or even like dark romance. Like, how is dark romance a bigger thing on Book Talk than historical romance? But also, I do think it's interesting, another little tangent, that a lot of like tropes in kind of old school historical romance, like you can see the groundwork for some of things in dark romance being quite popular. Someone's always getting kidnapped, you know? But anyway, I'm just getting like literally way too overheated, so I'm going to head out to the Vintage Mansion. Okay, I'm back home now. I went to the Vintage Mansion. It is really cool. It's like 3 stories. I think each room is maybe a different vendor potentially. And I didn't buy anything. I was very tempted by, I was going to get that blue teacup. I think I got a clip of both of them because they were like beside each other. There was this blue teacup that was really pretty, and also a rose one kind of in the back that I also liked. And then they also had this like Country Roses Royal Albert little china dish that I thought was really cool and would be a cute like jewelry dish. So I was like, screw it, I'm gonna get both. And then I thought, I need to calm down. So I didn't get anything, and I was like, maybe if I'm like still thinking about it over the next couple days, I'll go back and see if one or both is there and get one of them or something. I don't know, we'll see. I will say I was hoping for a bit more range in price. I felt like everything was a little more expensive than I was expecting, especially the clothes. Like, okay, I went into one little room and they had some cool stuff. Like there was this old like Burberry coat, very like Daisy Jones in the Six style. I took a really crap photo of it. It looks much cooler than this if I put the photo in person, but I was like trying to take it like this, so it doesn't look very good in the photo, but it's quite cool in person. That was like $650. That obviously, that's crazy, but it is like vintage Burberry. I don't know if that's like a rare or unique piece, whatever. Like I understand vintage, like designer reselling, especially if it is something a bit more rare, that's obviously going to be like that kind of crazy price range. But why is this little flimsy polyester slip with no tag $50? And then people are like, it's because I've curated it. I've curated it. If you don't get out of my face right now. I didn't find like too much for clothes anyway. Most of the rooms had a clothing rack or two, and I flipped through and there was some cool stuff, but nothing like really crazy other than like the Burberry coat was really cool to see. Definitely not in my price range, but very cool. And then I was like, you know, I want something weird. I want some weird little knickknacks. And the very last room I went in had this little like ceramic, it was a little mouse with his little mushroom mouse house. And I was like, perfect. This is exactly what I need. $75. So then I was Googling, it said, the tag said it was like a rare Mola ceramics. And I was like, I've never heard of that before. So I Googled it and I couldn't really find anything about Mola Ceramics Canada, but I did see some people like on Etsy and maybe eBay reselling that house or something similar for like minimum $100. So I guess they did have it for a deal, but still I thought 75 is maybe a bit much for me for this. So my collection of spinster tchotchkes is gonna have to wait another day. But I've come back home to have some lunch, and then potentially later today I might walk like in the other direction, because I know that there's supposed to be another couple of like little antique stores, or like one that's an antique shop and one that is like things that look old but aren't old, sort of near me. So I might go there today, or maybe I'll just go another day. But it is so nice out, so I think I probably will go back out at some point, even if it's just to like walk around and then go sit in a cafe or whatever, because it is like, it's like 1 degree out, I think. So it's really, really nice. I also, though, feel like I should watch like a Valentine's-esque movie today. That would be fun. I finished all of Tell Me Lies. I've been binging it, and there's 3 seasons. They're on the 3rd season now, and there's only 8 episodes. So like, it wasn't my most impressive work, but I did watch it pretty fast. And the newest, so I'm caught up, and I think there's only 1 more episode in this season, and I think this is maybe the last season. I was Googling it the other day, and they weren't kind of sure, but apparently the showrunner said like they've kind of always envisioned it being 3 seasons. This is the ending she envisions. And in season 2, I was kind of like, how long can they reasonably keep going with this? I know that they start with like her freshman year of college, so like theoretically they could go through all 4 years of her at college, plus, so the premise is like, you have them at a wedding in 2015, and then you have them in their first year of college in 2007, I think. So quite a bit of time that they like could theoretically cover. But just like with the concept, I was like, this is gonna, it can't go on that long. So then I thought, okay, the 3 seasons make sense then. But with what they've been doing in this season, like I don't understand how they're gonna resolve all of this in 1 episode. And I'm sure it's gonna be one where not everything is resolved and there's like loose ends and maybe like an unsatisfying open-ending ending. I kind of see it going that direction, or I could see it going that direction. But I feel like there's a lot of things that like need to be answered to explain where they're at the wedding. And I just don't know how they're gonna have time. Also, I feel like this season has gotten a bit, like the most recent season, I feel like Steven has gotten almost like, not cartoonishly evil, because I still feel like it's kind of realistic, but it is to the point where you're like, why is anybody still spending time with him? Because he's just like being very overtly, I'm blackmailing all of you and I'm a little bit evil. Also, in season 2, Thomas Doherty comes in, and I think that he's a little bit evil in real life, which I think that anybody with like a jawline and cheekbones like that, you're gonna be a little bit evil. But he comes in and he starts dating Lucy, and I'm like, you're telling me this 18-year-old girl starts dating that guy, but she's still hung up on Steven over here? They make jokes that he like looks like a turtle or looks like a thumb at certain points, and he kind of does. And he's not particularly charming throughout, because I feel like that's kind of the thing, is that like, oh, he turns on the charm and then he turns it off and then he tricks you and blah, 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 blah. Doesn't seem like he turns on the charm very often. But all that said, I'm really enjoying the show. I feel like it's quite overall well done. I think this season has gotten like a little wonky in terms of, yeah, like it's gotten so crazy, but I guess it was always going to. And I'm just gonna need people to like quit cheating on each other. Also, so my family on Valentine's Day, we don't like really, when I was little, we would do obviously the stuff at school, and some years I feel like my mom would buy my sister and I like chocolates and stuff, and then like also sometimes partially as like half a joke, half not, my dad would get like a bucket of chicken and a bouquet for Valentine's Day, which was like sort of a bit, but also just fun. So I was like, maybe I'll use it as an excuse, be fancy and order food tonight. But then I was like, no, those Uber Eats drivers are gonna be busy, and it'll be like one of those stupid things where they're like, they have to drop off 3 orders before yours just to, you know, guarantee that yours is cold. So I was like, I'll be super fancy and I'll try to make a steak tonight or something. Because in my first year at Oxford, I was going through this like brief period of sporadic insomnia. Sometimes it was because of stress, like when I was working on my dissertation. Yeah, that was because I was like up until like 3, 4 in the morning arguing with myself about ACOTAR. But I think sometimes it was like when I had nothing that would be stressful in particular going on. And I think it was because I bought all of my bedding like the day that we arrived. So, you know, jet lagged, tired, all hyped up. And also I had like a blister on the bottom of my foot that I was convinced was going to become infected and kill me. So I bought all my bedding in like a haze at Primark. So basically I was sleeping in a pile of plastic all year. And I think that did not help because, you know, locks in all the heat and not the most comfortable. So I think that's what it was. But while I was up all night, I got really obsessed with just watching videos of people cooking steak, and I was like, I could cook steak as well as Gordon Ramsay. So, you know, don't hold me to that, but I just think that I probably could. So that's what I'm gonna do tonight. Maybe watch something. I was like DMing with my mom earlier, and we were talking about I like been sending her photos of the stuff that I saw at the Vintage Mansion, and we were talking about that coat. And she was like, the Daisy Jones coat is inspired by Penny Lane from Almost Famous. So I was like, I've never seen Almost Famous, I should watch it. But it's not available for free anywhere, so probably not gonna watch that. But then I was like, completely different movie, but for some reason I was like, I could watch Romancing the Stone tonight. So I might do that and eat some steak. And then I also got this little mini peanut butter cheesecake thing when I got the steak. I saw these, so I was like, I'm gonna get that. I did take a bite out of it, you know, just for quality control purposes. It was important, and it is good. So, because, you know, you gotta have some whimsy, make every holiday a thing, why not? Hello everyone, sorry about the back glare. I could try this somewhere else, but I'm not going to. Today, it's the next day now, it's Sunday today, and once again, it's super nice outside, so I don't want to spend all day indoors. So I think I'm going to walk back down to Agricola Street, I've since learned how to pronounce it, and go back to Egghead Books and just like check out maybe some more of the places down that street, because I only wound up going into like Egghead, Agricola Street Books, and then this one like vintage store, which was another one of these consignment situations where it was just like ridiculously priced. But I know that there's a couple other like little boutiques and stores down there that if they're open today would be cute to go into. I have already checked that Egghead is open because I wasn't sure if it was open on Sundays. But yeah, I'm gonna go head back down there and just I think I'm gonna walk instead of taking the bus because why not? And it's very nice out. It's like 0 degrees. So I am back home now. I did stop by Egghead Books first and I got Blood on Her Tongue by Johanna Van Veen. So I talked about this one a bit before, but I really loved this author's first book, My Darling Dreadful Thing, which was this like sort of gothic, like macabre ghost story. It was very like Fall of the House of Usher, Crimson Peak kind of esque thing. And I really, really loved it. So I was super excited to read this because it's the same author and vampires. So I was immediately sold. That is all that I need. And I'm, yeah, really excited about this. So this one's also set in the Netherlands, which so was Blood on Her Tongue. And this is about Lucy and her twin sister, Sarah, who is like, has this very sort of mysterious illness and is on the verge of being sent to an asylum, I believe. Yeah. And so Lucy's trying to like prevent that from happening, but Sarah sort of begins to get worse and she begins to get, it just says hungry. So I'm assuming since we know it's vampires, we can assume what she's hungry for. But also both of them are like keeping secrets from each other. Lucy thinks that something's trying to possess Sarah. I'm not sure if that actually winds up like being true, if she's being possessed or if she like is becoming something else or like what's going on, but I'm really, really excited to read this because I did love her first book. And also the person who owns Egghead was telling me that this author has another new book coming out soon. Don't know anything about it, so I'm gonna look it up and like see what it is because I think that she said they have a new one coming out this year, so that's very exciting. And yeah, so this was the only one that I got. I was looking at a couple of other books. One was Hemlock, which I don't really remember much of the description for right now, but I remember thinking that it sounded really good. I think it was more of like a horror novel. And then I also saw one called The Once and Future Queen, which I actually don't know how I haven't heard of that before because it's like an Arthurian retelling and it's about this girl, this woman who starts to have like memories of in her past life she was Queen Guinevere. So she decides, well, my life sucks, so I'm gonna yeet myself back and save Camelot. But it turns out that, you know, transitioning to medieval England is not super easy and things are a bit weird. So yeah, I'm excited to read that. The reviews look pretty good. Because I looked it up on Goodreads to see if it was like one that I had known about and I was like, am I just forgetting? But it wasn't. And the first couple of reviews were not great, but most of them were pretty good. So that, if anything, kind of made me like a bit more curious to read it because the reviews of people who didn't like it were people who had written right off the bat that they don't know much about or aren't interested in Arthurian retellings usually. So then I'm like, are probably inclined to not enjoy like this type of fantasy. But like when the majority of the reviews, like I think it has almost a 4.9 on Goodreads. So when the majority of the reviews are good, I'm like, okay. And also that's kind of my thing, so I would read it anyway. But yeah, I thought that that sounded good and it like unlocked a memory for me of this book that I read like a billion years ago when I was probably like 12 or 13, like maybe a little older than that, which is kind of like a similar concept, but with Shakespeare. I think it was called Kissing Shakespeare, and it was basically about this girl who was, I think in high school, was doing like a high school production of, I think it was A Midsummer Night's Dream, because I think that like she wanted to play Titania because her mother had played Titania, or there was like something about that, like with her mother had been like a former actress and then she was gonna be in this play too. And then somehow she goes back in time, but I don't remember how. and she's like with Shakespeare and everyone. She's like at court, I don't know. And basically Shakespeare is like working on that play, and she's like rehearsing stuff with him, and she can't read his handwriting because it's, you know, old-timey handwriting. And so she's just like has the entire play memorized because that's the play that they're performing. And then he's like, oh, I love how you changed those lines. I'm gonna like write that down. And that's how he writes A Midsummer Night's Dream. I think it's that play. Maybe Twelfth Night, I'm not sure. And Shakespeare starts to be like, ah, I like you so much, I think we should have an affair. And then she's like, I don't know how to handle this. And then I don't remember what happens after that. Somehow she goes back to her normal time. But yeah, I think there's like a time traveler. There is a guy there who knows what the situation is. And I think he maybe takes her back. And then he's like, but you can't kiss Shakespeare too much, but you have to kiss him a little bit. Is like the gist of it. I don't know, I remember being like, not the best book I've ever read, but not the worst. That was my rating at the time. But this just sort of reminded me of it, of like, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do all of this cool stuff. And then they go back and they're like, oh, it's a bit more complicated than I had anticipated. So yeah, I thought that that one looked really good. I quite like that store. It's like a smaller location, but I feel like they have quite a good selection. And I've been twice now, and both times the displays were a bit different, and I always found like some books on the display that I was like, I need to take a photo of that and remember it. I would say they don't have the best selection of romance, or even, there's like a pretty good selection of literary fiction, but I think when I go in, the things that I'm like finding the most of, and the most like titles that I hadn't heard before, are for horror and also kind of fantasy, actually. Like, they don't have a huge fantasy section, but I feel like they're interesting titles that they have. So yeah, I do really like that location. Bookmarked is a little bit closer to me, and it's like a bigger store. So that's the one that I've been like going in to browse more regularly, but I do really enjoy Egghead Books as well. And the person who runs it is very nice, so that's cool. All the people in Bookmarked are also very nice. I feel like I've just like talked a bit more one-on-one with the person at Egghead both times that I've gone. But the people at Bookmark are also all really nice and very personable. And then yeah, over the weekend I've read a few chapters of this. I'm not very far in yet, so I don't have like too much to say about this other than that like it's entertaining off the jump. It is doing the thing where they like write out the dialogue, like they write out the dialect and the accent from the beginning, which I feel like a lot of Scottish like Highlander romances do that. And it's always just something that you kind of have to, like at first, when you first start reading, it's a bit like, but once you get used to it and get in the flow of it, it doesn't really like take you out or anything. But the first few pages are like, it's so pronounced that it does just make you want to do the brave thing. Like the mom is just my beau. It's like very aggressive, but it is fun. It's very entertaining. I feel like it's got, I haven't really read like a historical romance quite like this before. I haven't read too many historical romances with like that kind of supernatural bent, I don't think. I've read a couple where like they think something supernatural is maybe going on and then they resolve it later that it's not. Like maybe that's what's going on in this one as well, I don't know. But yeah, I am enjoying it. But yeah, it's like 6 o'clock now, so I don't think I'm gonna be doing anything else too exciting for the rest of the evening. So I'm probably gonna end this video here. So thanks for watching. If you have any historical romance recommendations, let me know, because I'm on a real kick. I actually was looking for some at Egghead today, but they didn't have any historical romances, which I thought was interesting. Actually, I don't think Bookmarked has a huge amount either now that I'm thinking about it. But I feel like that's just what I'm in the mood for now, so we'll see if that continues when I finish this. But yeah, thanks for watching, and check out the next one.